everyone. Welcome back.
Hi.
Hello there. So welcome back to the Chit-Chat Café. Another live stream on one of our courses coming up for the Mental Wealth Academy. So I'm Carolyn Barber from the Good Mental Health Co-op, and I'm joined by Sarah Haskett, who's also from the Good Mental Health Co-op and Creative Mental Health, and Dr. Sandy Walker, who's the facilitator of the course that's starting next Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the evening on mental health perspectives. So we're going to be talking to Sandy about what that involves and who might be interested. So the link to the course is in the chat, in the comments underneath. So do take a look while we're talking, and if you've got any questions, just post them in the comments. So, Sandy, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
But what do you want to tell us something about the background to this course and how you've kind of come to set it up?
Yeah, sure. I'll give you the potted version. I've been a mental health nurse since 1918, long time, and during that time I've done loads and loads of training, various kinds, and I've worked in the NHS for most of that time. Not all, because I had my own period of mental distress after I had my second and third child. So I was off work for a bit there, but I came back and I went back to work, and I did quite well and went through the ranks, as it were, and worked in different areas of healthcare. And whilst I was there, I was struck by several things, but one of the things was how much of a grip the medical model had on healthcare. So the ideas around diagnosis and how that drove mental health care, and how it seemed to me that sometimes I saw that being somewhat less humane than I would have liked. So that sort of really unsettled me and made me, and I'm the sort of person, when I see something that I don't quite like, I just have to do something about it, really. And for me, it seemed to be education that was needed. I did a lot of work, obviously, in the community, because Carolyn, you and I met in 2010, I think it was, and started working together and forming the Good Mental Health Co-op from 2011-12, wasn't it? So we were working closely with loads of service users and at the time, and I just became aware of the problem that, no, I didn't become aware then, I was already aware of what a problem stigma is in the community, and institutional stigma, and also, personal stigma, and how we apply that to ourselves. So all these things kind of meshed themselves together in my head, and I thought, what happened really was I woke up in the middle of the night. It was about 4 a.m. and I thought, I had this fully formed program in my head, and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I had to get up and write it down. And this would be about 2012. So I got up, wrote it down, and then managed to go back to sleep. It was before that. It was about 2008. I had the idea, but then I did nothing with it for years. And then we were doing some work with the Good Mental Health Co-op, and we ran. I pulled it out of the cupboard, as it were, and we ran it, called Off the Shelf, in the community, and it was really well received, and I absolutely loved doing it. And I've felt since then that really it should be revisited and reformulated. So this seemed to be the perfect opportunity to do that. So I guess is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to say a bit about what it or the kind of principles behind it, because you're talking about diagnosis based intervention from a trauma perspective.
From a trauma perspective, yeah.
What does that mean to the ladies?
So still, I mentioned the term medical model earlier, which just basically means really that we are still in mental health care very much focused on diagnostic criteria. So diagnoses, people getting a diagnosis of something to explain a set of symptoms or behaviours, and then given treatments according to those labels. So that's what I mean by diagnosis-based treatment, diagnosis-based sessions. And I've done that because it's pragmatic. We do have services that operate that way. We have to. It mightn't be perfect, but it is how it is, and so we have to be realistic about that. And what I'm really keen on, and I'm certainly not alone in this, there's an enormous great movement in this direction, and many practitioners operate this way anyway, and we always have in the Good Mental Health Co-op, is very much looking at that from a trauma perspective. So the trauma perspective really just means looking at it from the point of view of life is difficult. Life is very often maddening. So it's not at all surprising that we struggle with that we get distressed, that distress sometimes manifests itself in difficult behaviour. And so it's just trying to change the societal view slightly, in my own small way, on that. So looking at those diagnoses, those labels, from the perspective of where might that have come from, what might have caused that. And that's also influenced by my own experiences of trauma in childhood. And so everything I'm delivering, as well as being now highly qualified and considered an expert in mental health, or mental wellness, I prefer to say, I'm also someone who has lived experience, and I have walked the walk. I do not just talk the talk.
And I like that. That really speaks to me, because it's kind of saying, that this is the what we struggle with, the position that we come to within our mental health is not a reflection on who we are. It's a reflection on some of the experiences perhaps that we've had.
Yeah.
And it's incorporating compassion with that, and into, and saying, well, this is an experience. This is a human experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've developed my own brand of mental health care, love-based mental health care, which is, just from my perspective, what we should have been doing from the beginning. And I hope we can do a stream about that another day.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we're going to get you on about that, that's a whole topic in itself. And I can see there's a few people on the stream, so drop us a hello, let us know you're there, and ask. This is your opportunity to ask Sandy anything you want about her course, about who she is, what she's doing, and so we open this up to you. Your course is quite extensive, isn't it? I've looked at the areas that you're going to be discussing, and it's a long course as well, because it's got that sort of part 1 of the first 5 weeks, and then flows after Easter into another 5 weeks. Anyone that's watching, if you can't make every session, it will be recorded, it will be uploaded, and the slides will be available too. But it feels like it's really substantial. This is a really great piece of education that people can access in the community, which isn't normally something that, it's not something that often happens, is it?
No, that's true. And I guess so. I have won awards for teaching. Which is, I hate saying that out loud, but I also like saying that out loud.
Why not? Be proud.
Yeah, I'm not at all sure whether that award-winning presentation style will come across quite so well in Zoom, but I should do my best. And the sessions will be interactive to a certain degree, so I'll ask people to use the chat really mostly, and occasionally there might be the odd breakout session to have a chat with each other and then feedback, that kind of thing. But beyond that, it's because we're going to have the recorded sessions and then questions. I'm happy to answer questions after the event as well, if they get emailed in, and we could add it or something like that.
We've got there's the forum group, so I'll set up a specific page for your course on a community chat group that we've got, that when you enroll in the course, there's an automatic invitation to the community chat site, and on there people can post any questions there and share and talk about the experience of the learning.
Can I just make one more point about what you were saying about how it seems quite expansive or comprehensive, which I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, it's surprising how we have all these different labels to describe something that actually is quite similar across humanity. Well, certainly in the Western world that we're most familiar with. And so it's surprising how much actually isn't, you know, maybe we didn't really need all those labels, but yeah, that's how I've devised it as per the most common diagnostic criteria. Diagnostic labels.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So Sandy, just thinking about who do you think would benefit from this course? You know, if people are watching this, is it for them? Who would you like to come?
Everyone. I'd like everyone to come. Some of the places where I've personally advertised it, for example, would be anyone working with people who are often in mental distress, just to gain some more understanding and maybe compassion, because the more we can understand what's going on behind these labels, then they become less scary and you can feel more compassion for people, because we realize that we have this common humanity going on rather than people with mental health problems or mental distress being being different to the rest of us. I would really love it if loads of people with lived experience of mental distress came along, just to gain more understanding and insight and maybe a different perspective on their own experience. And we probably won't have much time to actually share stuff, but if doing it face to face, it was slightly longer when we delivered it, and that was certainly an important element then. I'd love it if I've shared it with the police, with lived experience groups, what else, health professionals, all sorts, anyone who just fancies something a little bit different in a different format, maybe, I don't know, just members of the public, anyone that's interested.
So anyone, basically, all
anyone,
of you.
Yeah, I really did mean that. Yeah, anyone.
I think
I'm as you are.
There is quite a hunger, isn't there, to understand what
I think so.
These, you know, complicated terms mean, and just kind of understand more about mental health, and especially, you know, with COVID and all the impact that's had on mental health generally, hasn't it? It's become more okay to talk about mental health, and
that's been quite a nice. I mean, you've got to look for the positives in everything, haven't you? I guess. So at least that's been a fairly good outcome from the devastation of the last year.
There's been a lot of devastation and a lot of trauma lived. But there has, as you say, there has been some useful elements that have come out of what we've gone through, and one of those being the understanding within mental illness and distress being become more commonly understood, because everyone's gone through a touch of that over the last year in some degree. And also the reach, you know, in these types of courses, that it's been quite amazing, actually, the reach that we've had in the courses that we've been developing here and that we've been putting on. You know, the course that we ran yesterday, there was someone from Cape Town in South Africa.
Yeah, wow.
Nice. So if you're watching again, you're famous now. So, you know, and I think people in America as well, and that the reach has gone really quite broad. So I feel like there has become a platform where social change can happen globally. You know, and these types of courses and these conversations are so relevant to that. That's what's bringing us together when we're actually most distance, we're actually closer in some way. Yeah. Hi Liz, I just said hello on the chat.
Oh, hi Liz.
So What just think, so if someone signs up for the course, is there any kind of preparation or anything that they need to bring, you know?
No, an open mind and an open heart. There we are. That's all they need to bring. But each one of the
What about things like notes?
no, what things like what? Sorry.
Like, would they need to take notes, or would they,
Well,
you know, can they kind of see the slide
yeah,
afterwards?
they can. They're welcome. Anyone's welcome to take notes. I'm someone who learns best when I take notes anyway, but it's not essential. The PowerPoint slides will be there at the same time as my face, as it were. So it's not death by PowerPoint, just to reassure everyone. But they act as a good aid memoir for me, and then yeah, they'll be there to be accessed with the video, I believe, afterwards. So there's no real need to take notes, and you don't need anything particular throughout the course. What I do like to do is for every week there is a practical activity at the end. So as well as learning something, hopefully, what I like to do is think that I give people little tools to put in their toolkit of well-being to take away with them, that they can use themselves, or they might be able to pass on to somebody else. So at the end of every week, there's something that's related to the topic we've been talking about that's been shown to be particularly helpful for that topic generally. So yeah, that's the only real practical aspect to it. So there's no need to prepare in advance. No.
Okay, great. I love the idea of just practical exercises as well, because, you know, I think this idea that we can a bit like with physical health, you know, there are things that we can do and exercises that we can think about regularly, which help mental health generally. Help sort of resilience and well-being.
I was interviewed by a journalist last night for a magazine article, and I said to her in the interview that we think about exercising our physical body, but what about exercising our mental body as well? You know, let's get some psychological keep fit going on kind of thing. Yeah, the ways to do that. Yeah, so, absolutely.
I can see Liz is asking about the subject of the course. So the course title is Mental Health Perspectives.
Yeah, so that's the website there. I've just popped it on the bottom of the screen there, but it is in the chat as well, Liz. So you can always, and anyone can pop along and have a look at that. Get all the info.
Yeah.
So was there anything else you wanted to add about the course, Sandy?
I can't think of anything particularly. I think I've covered everything. I hope people will I hope people will stay with me for the whole 10 weeks, because it's but obviously that's not necessarily always possible, and I know people can catch it up in their own time. So
I think it's benefit from the group. There's benefit from having a group session.
Yeah, it's really, really helpful. It just makes a more rich learning environment, really, for people.
And does each session kind of build on the other, or could people pop into one, or would you say, well, it's best that they have watched the previous
I would
session?
Ideally, it would be good if they've been to them all, because there are definite threads that go through all of them. That said, apart from the first two, the second and the third one are definitely connected, and indeed the fourth one, because the second one is depression, and then the third one is depression and anxiety, and then the fourth one is anxiety. I think that's right. And those three are definitely joined together, as it were. But yeah, you're still, ideally, if you don't want to have to keep repeating stuff from the first week each time. So they'll be there to watch, won't they? I mean, that's a fantastic thing with this format. In real life, you would have to explain again what we did last week to people who weren't there. No, in real life, did you? I just said in real life. You know what I mean? In the classroom situation. Whereas here, it's a real luxury to say, can you just look at the first 2 sessions before you come to the third one if you haven't been able to make them? You know, it's great, isn't it? That's quite a luxury.
Yeah, and it does mean someone could sign up at any time, really, during the course, couldn't they?
Yeah.
They could catch up by watching the previous ones and then just join in.
Yeah, that's it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, so definitely a real benefit for the way that things are working right now. Yeah. And the connection in the forum page as well, and just being, you know, so there's that sort of 3 elements of it, of the recordings, of the live session, and then that sort of community chat, bringing it all together and connecting with people the best we can. And there's actually advantages in it.
Definitely. Oh, but you should have heard me grumble at the beginning about having to do stuff online.
It's been a shock to a lot of people, but it's starting to feel a little bit more settled now, isn't it?
Yeah. I
think
it.
We're all finding our roots through it, aren't we? But it has been quite a steep learning curve.
Yeah.
Okay. So shall we bring this to a close then? And this will obviously be available for a while for people to look at, and join up. Take a look at the course and join up.
Yeah, get involved.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Sandy, and
you're welcome.
See you soon.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Everyone.